Reaperists and Overwatchers alike, a blind noob here, and in this video, I'm gonna talk about an issue that plagues all multiplayer games, but in particular Overwatch 2. This is an issue that I've been guilty of myself, and probably most players have at some point in their gaming careers. This issue, this problem, this bad habit is blaming teammates, or really anything but themselves. I hate to admit it, but I've had times where I blamed teammates for my losses, and it finally got me into trouble. Recently, my account was suspended for 14 days, deservedly so. The reason? Toxic game chat. And no, I don't use curse words or whatever, but I was being negative towards my teammates. But enough about my faults. Moving forward, obviously I wanted to keep playing Overwatch, so I started a new account, and as you probably know, I needed to get 50 wins in quick play before playing ranked. Well, this meant that I was going to be playing against some really low-level players, but I didn't mess around because I wanted all these games over with as soon as possible so I could finally do my placements for competitive. Now obviously, I'm telling you all this for a reason. I learned a pretty significant lesson doing these quick play games on this new account. So I played about 20 or 30 matches when I was hit with this epiphany. Every game, it had seemed like my teams were stacked with really good players against teams made up of a bunch of new, low-ranking players. Of course, this is sure to happen on occasion, but every game, for 20-plus matches, that's pretty much impossible. So what was going on? I soon realized that it wasn't my teammates that were better than the enemy players, it was because I was enabling them to do their jobs more easily, and as a team, we were able to roll the enemies. And this, can we call it a phenomenon, can happen even when you're playing at your proper rank. Maybe you, maybe one of your teammates is just having one of those games where everything is going right. You're hitting every headshot, every flank gets giga value, your teammates feed off of your plays, and you absolutely stomp the enemy team. We've all been in games like this, it happens. But then you see online the Blizzard hate squad posting screenshots of these matches and using it as some sort of bizarre proof of bad matchmaking. Cringe. But anyways, just as we can have a great game and enable our teammates, the same thing can happen on the enemy team. The enemy Ashe is hitting all their headshot combos, creating space for their tank to take even more space, yada yada yada, you get rolled. It happens. Doesn't mean the matchmaker is trash, doesn't mean your teammates are trash, it just happens. And then there's the ultimate source of copium. The reason why so many people can't rank up and are forever stuck in their rank. ELO HELL, also sometimes referred to as the loser queue. You know, when you finally ranked up to platinum after all those years in gold, and then the matchmaker intentionally puts you in unwinnable games so you drop back to gold. Games where you, your teammates, and everybody on the enemy team are virtually the same rank, but the matchmaker has carefully placed all the downward trending players on one team. You know those games, right? And it's not just one game, it's massive losing streaks. 10 losses in a row, 17 of 20 games lost. How could this happen? 10 games in a row where all the inferior players on your team? Unfortunately, the number of people that would attest this to ELO HELL or the loser queue is surprisingly high. Go check out the Overwatch subreddit any day. The most common posts are people blaming external factors for their losing streaks, usually with a staggering number of upvotes. Drives, end of season, beginning of season, throwers, smurfs, leavers, the list goes on. Everything and everyone is at fault, except you, of course. So what's actually going on then? Because I'm sure deep inside your heart, you know ELO HELL doesn't actually exist. It just makes zero sense if you think about it for half a minute. So how can a perpetually low plat player keep getting to plat 1 and then dropping right back down to plat 4 or 5? How can so many players go on losing streaks at the end of a season? How can I play dozens of games and all the shitters are on my team, never on the enemy team? Needless to say, there isn't one single reason why all these things happen. But let me share some insight as to why it can sometimes seem like everything's against you. So why do you sometimes climb up a few ranks only to drop down to your usual rank? Could be inconsistency. Not everyone performs at the same level every game. Look at an NBA player. One game, he might shoot 12 of 15 field goals. Does that mean he's an 80% shooter? No, he's just on a hot streak. Just like the last place, 8-win, 35-loss team may win 3 or 4 games in a row. Are they suddenly one of the best teams in the league? No. Sure, it may be a sign of improvement, but we can't expect that trend to continue forever. We're not robots, we're humans. Humans make mistakes, leading to inconsistency. Another reason is we all have our actual rank and then our peak rank. The rank we sometimes hit when we're in the zone, everything's going right, you're winning the majority of your games, and suddenly you've jumped from Plat 5 to Plat 1. Games start to get harder. Maybe you lose your confidence, maybe you get frustrated, maybe you're putting pressure on yourself because you're just 1 win away from Diamond. Whatever it is, it can cause your gameplay to suffer, and boom, back to Plat 5. You gotta remember, the difference between a low plat and a high plat player is very small. Maybe you're feeling a little sleepy or stressed about something at work or school. Something like that could be the difference between performing at a mid-diamond versus a mid-plat level player. And what you gotta be aware of is you're not gonna notice these minor deficiencies in your gameplay. But going back to the whole enabling your teammate thing, if you're at your peak rank but not performing at your best, it's going to make your teammates' jobs much more difficult. And you can bet that if your teammates aren't getting maximum value out of their heroes, you're going to notice it. Let's say, for example, you're playing support, but you're at your peak rank. The enemy's movement is a little more erratic, so you're missing more shots than usual. Confidence is starting to waver, so you're focusing all your damage on that big fat Orisa. On top of that, because your accuracy isn't at its best, you've now subconsciously positioned yourself further forward than you should be. So you don't have your other support and DPS in your line of sight. They keep dying because they aren't getting heals. But that can't be your fault. You've got big fat healing and damage stats to back up how well you've played, right? Even though all that damage was wasted into the enemy tank, and all your healing was spent on your tank, who was desperately trying to take space, but couldn't because his DPS weren't putting pressure on the enemy, because they were constantly pushed out of the fight or dead, because you were ignoring them. And this is why it's so pointless quoting stats or posting screenshots of scoreboards to prove how well you did, how poorly your teammates did, or how imbalanced the matchmaking is. So stop it. Your team's losing? Think about what you could do to change the momentum. One of my favorite things about Overwatch is it's so situational. It's not just about point and click. You need to read situations, read your teammates' playstyles, read the enemy playstyles. If you can't do any of that, if you can't understand what you're doing wrong, your bad habits, if you can't stop blaming your teammates and the matchmaker for your losing streaks, well, all I can say is enjoy ELO Hell. You want to start winning more and ranking up? Stop doing the same things over and over again. Struggling with your aim? Jump into an aim trainer workshop. Play around with your settings. Dying too much or just not getting value? Check out YouTube. I'm sure there are tons of high-level gameplay or tip videos from players who play your mains. Me? I'm a Reaper main, so sometimes I'll check out Choice Is Me on YouTube. He's a former champion rank Reaper main, so I can learn different rollouts, TP strategies, anything. Anyways, there are many ways to improve and rank up in Overwatch. And I'll tell you what, blaming external factors for your losses is not one of them. And if you still think ELO Hell exists after watching this video, convince me why in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next video, may your death blossoms be bloody.